All right, gather round. What I have for you tonight isn't really a lesson. It's more of a fable, a dark play about the comfortable prisons we all build for ourselves. So let's begin. The logic of zero and the architecture of stagnation.
Now, I want you to listen very carefully. This story, it's addressed directly to you. It talks about an abbey of safety, this place where the chaotic, beautiful lightning of a real life gets traded in for the safe, predictable, dim glow of security. You see where this is going? It's a place where comfort becomes a cage.
Our little drama unfolds in 6 acts. We'll start with the prison, then introduce a catalyst. We'll witness a terrible offer, face a final judgment, be presented with an impossible choice, and then we arrive at either triumph or tragedy.
And so the curtain rises. Act 1, the gilded cage. The stage is set inside an architecture built not for living, but for hiding from it.
Just think about that imagery for a second. Wax fruit. It's the perfect metaphor for this gilded cage, isn't it? An existence that looks just like life but has absolutely no substance. It's this beautiful, flawless imitation that can't rot, precisely because it was never really alive in the first place.
So the folks living in this abbey, they worship what's called the Pharisees' paradox, basically a kind of self-righteous blindness to their own slow decay. They build these walls of vanity to shield themselves from any harsh truth, the mountain frost. They've come to mistake their stagnation, this terminal sickness of comfort, for who they actually are. And it's all just to avoid facing the original catastrophe of simply being alive.
Okay, so into this comfortable silence, something has to break through. Act 2, the jester's song. You know, every stagnant story needs a disruptive force. And here he is. But he's not a character. He's an instrument.
Into this cozy gloom comes the uncanny jester. Now, he's not a person with motivations or a backstory. He's something purer. He's a channel for the unfiltered id, that raw, instinctual, primal core of the psyche. Think of him less as a man and more as a perfectly tuned violin, playing a song of uncomfortable truth that vibrates deep in your bones.
And what song is he playing? It's called The Logic of Zero. So here's the crucial point. This philosophy argues that the entire idea of an individual self is actually a mistake, a static disturbance in the universe. The jester's music is basically a funeral song for the ego, saying that true peace is only found when the self is gone.
Now we're at Act 3, the Crimson Gift. The jester's part in this play is evolving. And, well, he's no longer alone. The conflict is about to escalate from a passive song to a very active, very dangerous offer.
So the jester transforms. He goes from being an instrument to being a mirror, forcing everyone to finally see the decay they've been hiding from. And right on cue, his brother shows up, the Red Spectre. He's the muscle, the architect of dismantlement. He's here to apply the philosophical acid and dissolve the cage that the jester only revealed.
So what are these shadow saviors offering? It's called the Crimson Gift, and it is the ultimate release. It's the permission to just stop, to end the constant struggle of being an individual, and to simply surrender to the perfect, silent nothingness of the abyss.
Act 4, Judgment of the Void. This is it. This is the climax of the story. All the lies, all the pretense, it's all about to be stripped away by a power far greater than the jester. The gavel falls. A brand new figure takes the stage, a high judge of the void. And this entity just mocks every claim to willpower and personal strength we hold so dear. It calls our will a pathetic dagger, just a meaningless chemical scream against the infinite silence of reality. Every philosophy of self-improvement and overcoming is now on trial for its life. And under this cold, absolute judgment, the gilded cage shatters. Every illusion of safety, every single wall of vanity is just instantly obliterated. All that's left is the raw, honest, and frankly terrifying vacuum underneath.
All right, let's move to Act 5 and see what's left in the rubble. The hourglass choice. We're in a desolate wasteland now, and the final, most terrible test is about to be presented.
So before the survivor stands the hourglass of eternal becoming, and its function is just horrifying. It offers you continued existence, yes, but an existence where every mistake, every failure, every single moment of pain is locked into a permanent loop to be repeated for all eternity. And here it is, the jester's final wager. He bets that when you're forced to confront the truth of your own flawed, painful life, knowing you have to relive it forever exactly as it was, you will break.
You'll beg for the only other option, the logic of zero, the grace of the abyss, total annihilation.
And so the question isn't just for the character in the story anymore, it's for you. If you had to relive your life, completely unchanged, with every single regret and heartbreak, again and again forever, would you still say yes to it? And now, the final act. Act 6, the Sovereign Triumph. Here we get the defiant, absolutely stunning answer to the Jester's challenge. This is the logic of one.
In a moment of just pure, radical defiance, the hero of our story, the Wanderer, looks at that hourglass, acknowledges all the pain that comes with it, and refuses the abyss. He declares yes, a yes to becoming, a yes to the entire flawed, agonizing cycle. And in that moment, the fire that was meant for dismantlement is transformed into a fire of creation.
This slide just contrasts the two paths perfectly. On the one hand, you have the logic of zero. It offers the peace of non-existence, a quiet return to the inorganic. But the Wanderer chooses radical responsibility. He chooses to affirm life, with all its flaws, to take ownership of the error of existence, and to find meaning precisely within that agonizing tension.
So, in the end, what was the Jester's real purpose? You can see his whole journey right here. First, he was the instrument of truth. Then he became the mirror, forcing a confrontation with that truth. And finally, he became the witness, the silent conscious, whose challenge created the very space needed for this sovereign victory to even be possible.
The Abbey of Safety is destroyed, now just a monument to a life that was never really lived. And this is the final, crucial point. The story proves that choosing to grow, even if it means going through pain, is the only way to truly live. An authentic, chosen life will always triumph over the alluring peace of nothingness.
And so our fable ends with its final question turned back on you. You've witnessed the fall of the Abbey. Now you have to ask yourself, what walls have you built? What comforts have become your prison? And what Jester's song, what terrible choice, might it take for you to finally tear them down?